Timothy Bradley against Pacquiao, I like that one too. I think both these guys are good.
Timothy Bradley, he comes to the ring wearing 3 gloves, with, one on his left hand, one on his right hand, and one on his head. He's got the real Evander Holyfield style. He leans in. He doesn't mean to butt you, but you come out all busted up fighting Timothy Bradley. He's a rough, tough guy. He comes forward. He's got that style where he just leans in like Evander does, and you're bound to get busted up with him. I mean, I don't think he causes those accidental headbutts on purpose, but it's just the nature of the guy's style. I mean, he's coming forward, and that's it. He's keeping his chin down, which is what you're supposed to do. He's leaning in, and bam, he gets you. And it's rough. I mean, Manny Pacquiao better study tapes of Timothy Bradley and figure out how he's not going to get cut up by Timothy Bradley's head, because otherwise you're going to see a technical decision and Manny could lose. So, it's one of those things. He's going to be tough. He's never been beaten. He's not the easiest guy to hit because he is leaning in and, and staying down, and he's rough, and he throws a lot of punches, and he's got that brutal right hand over the top. And, we saw what he did with Devin Alexander. I mean, Timothy Bradley is a guy that can fight. He even be the bigger guy when he beat Abreu. And, I'm just anticipating a real good fight. I think of all the guys that Pacquiao's fought recently, I think Timothy Bradley may turn out to be the toughest one.
I agree, and there's another case where a guy like Timothy Bradley should be a household name, and because he didn't get promoted the way he should have, he's forced.
Well, it was his fault. He was dopey. He turned down that big money fight at well over $1 million to fight Amir Khan. I mean, holy mackerel! I mean, why was he afraid of fighting Amir Khan? I don't know what happened, but see, if you believe what you read on the internet, I guess you have to, because we don't have the inside information. He certainly turned down something like $1,400,000, which is way more than he ever made in his life to fight Amir Khan. So had he taken the Khan fight, certainly we all would have known him. But he turned it down, and now things are starting to turn his way. They didn't get him much of a tune-up when they got him Joel Casamayor, who did nothing but play Justin Tuck, and he kept tackling Bradley about every 2 seconds. But anyway. So that wasn't much of a tune-up, but even still, Bradley got back in the ring, and now he's ready to go against Pacquiao. So I'm looking forward to it because he is tough.
The one thing that we talked about on the show the other day was that Manny Pacquiao is a different fighter when he sees his own blood, and that could come into play against Bradley.
Let me tell you, he's going to see his own blood with Bradley. I mean, you can bet the ranch on that one. I mean, if I were Manny Pacquiao, I think I would get rid of everybody in the corner. I would keep Freddie Roach, and then I would get, on one side I'd get Danny Milano,
Every good cut man in the business.
On the other side I would get, Big George, I make sure I have, if there are last 4 guys in the corner, I get 3 cut men, and Freddie Roach, and that's it.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And Big George Mitchell, right?
The hell with Blue Boy. Get rid of him, That's the same Bus Boy, Blue Boy, I don't know. The guy that carries your bags, whatever his name is.
Yeah, he
get rid of him in the corner and get another cut man in there.
Now, do you think that the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight will happen?
Hey, that's a good idea. You have one guy working on cuts on your left eye and one guy working on cuts on your right eye, and they take turns working on a cut in the middle.
When you fight Bradley, that's what you end up with, right?
I'm telling you, there's a new Lederman idea for boxing. 1 cut man for each eye. Do I ever think Manny Pacquiao and Mayweather will happen? Yeah, November. That's my gut feeling. If Manny doesn't get too busted up, if Floyd wins and Manny's fortunate enough to win, November. I think after, if these 2 guys win, there ain't nobody left. It's got to be November.
I thought it was really great of Hirschman to make basically that statement that they're losing their...
if it doesn't happen this year, people are going to lose interest. Yeah, right.
I hear it already. I hear people say now, the fans and listeners to our show say we don't care about the fight. I know they're just frustrated like all of us, but I do agree that, really the time to make that fight was the end of last year. They stretch it another year, they may be pushing the envelope.
Oh, yeah. But even still, a good performance by Manny against Timothy Bradley, a good performance by Floyd against Miguel Cotto certainly will pique the public's interest again. And, as I say, I figure November. That's enough time to promote the fight, no doubt about it. You want to ask me about Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.?
Of course I'm going to. And the thing is I'll tell you this, Harold. He is a kid that I got to be honest when I tell you I wasn't impressed with him at all until there's a big fight. When I watched him fight that fight, I said, you know what, maybe he is good. See, my hang-up is I don't think a fighter should be a champion. I don't want to watch a fighter develop while they're a champion. I want them to already be developed. And what I saw in the Zabik fight was, I saw some good things. I loved the body attack. Then we see the fight the other night, and I'm hearing all kinds of stories about the urine test.
Then we saw Manfredo.
Well, I know I skipped past that one. He looked good against Manfredo, but come on, But I thought he looked good against Marco Antonio Rubio. I think people underestimate Rubio.
Oh yeah. Rubio's a good fighter. We saw that in the David Lemieux fight. But let me ask you a question. Now listen, is there a middleweight? Is there any middleweight in the world today? I don't care who you name. Any middleweight in the world that's going to be the 181-pound fighter. I mean, it's getting ridiculous already. The guy's a cruiserweight. He walks in a cruiserweight. You got to start making new rules for Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I swear. Number one, the weigh-in's got to be the day of the fight. I mean, he's got to weigh somewhere near 60. I mean, I don't think the WBC had their, they got a rule or some nonsense like that they weigh you a week before the fight. And you got to be within 10% of what you're supposed to be, or so, or 10 pounds. I don't know what their rule is. They got this 1 week preliminary weigh-in. I don't think they do it on Chavez. They can't. The guy weighed 181 pounds. People were saying that when he was, in between fights, that he was up to 205. He's just too darn big. I mean, Rubio gained 11 pounds since the weigh-in, and then he was 171. But Chavez gained 22 pounds. I mean, how can you gain 22 pounds in 1 day? I mean, there's just the guy's just too big. I mean, look at any of the, you look at the ratings, the only one out there that's probably big enough to take him on is Jermaine Taylor, because he's a huge middleweight. But God, Don, I mean, have you ever seen the guy from Ghana, Proxa? I ain't never seen him. I don't know how big he is, but I don't know if he wants to fight a 181-pounder. Who else is in the ratings? Sebastian Sylvester's not big enough. Andy Lee, maybe, because Andy Lee is a big middleweight, but Andam, I never saw, the guy that's supposed to fight the Golovkin. I mean, Alcine certainly isn't that big. Peter Quillen's not that big. I mean, who in God's name is there in the ratings that's going to fight a 181-pounder? I mean, this guy is huge. Well, it's a real problem. He's banging to the body real good, but when you got 181 pounds coming behind that punch, Don Love's going to have a lot of force.
Well, Sergio wants to fight him, and
Sergio's a junior middleweight, let alone a middleweight. He's a very small middleweight, Sergio Martinez. You know that.
Yeah, but
I mean, you'll see when he steps in the ring with Matthew Macklin, they'll be the same size, and it'll be a fair fight in that respect. But as far as fighting a guy 181 pounds, I mean, holy mackerel, they got to do something. I would absolutely insist on a same-day weigh-in for his next fight. I mean, he said he's going to stay at 160. You heard that in the interview with Larry Merchant. On the other hand, Freddie Roach was making statements like he ought to go to light heavyweight. He's too big for 168.